Rookie out of Baylor, number 2 in that beautiful seafoam green jersey. Committing the foul, Sophie Cunningham.
One shirt, one player. One moment that cracked the illusion of control wide open. Sophie Cunningham did not just walk into an arena that night. She walked straight into a pressure point the league didn't realize was already fractured. And the moment she showed up, everything shifted. She knew the cameras were waiting. She knew screenshots would travel faster than any press release ever could. And she knew exactly what that red and white shirt would say without her ever opening her mouth. When that image hit timelines across America, the real question wasn't, why did she do it? The question was why it worked so perfectly. Because what actually happens when a league tries to silence a player, but the public decides to amplify her instead? What happens when a fine meant to scare someone turns into a rally cry? What happens when a so-called distraction flips into nearly $800,000 worth of sales in a single day? This was never just about merch or a viral clip. This was a live power struggle, and everyone was watching. The part that really shook the WNBA wasn't what Sophie said out loud. It was what she exposed without trying to. The moment that lit the fuse started with a foul that should have never been ignored.
And if you ask the players, though, Sophie Cunningham has been speaking out about this. This is not anything about Caitlin Clark. Obviously, they're better with her.
To understand how this all exploded, you have to rewind to a game against the Connecticut Sun, a game that quietly changed everything. Sophie Cunningham was doing what she always does. She came off the bench with energy, defended aggressively, played physical, and handled the dirty work that never shows up in box scores but wins games anyway. She wasn't chasing headlines. She was just hooping. Then it happened. A hard hit straight to the head. Clear contact, no question. The type of play that usually gets an immediate whistle and at least a review. Everyone saw it. Fans, players, coaches, cameras from multiple angles. And somehow, nothing happened. No call, no stoppage. Play just kept rolling like Sophie didn't matter. That moment alone was bad enough. But it didn't stop there. Minutes later, Sophie took another shot, this time involving a grab around the neck. Again, obvious. Again, dangerous. Again, something officials are trained to shut down immediately. And again, nothing. No whistle, no review, no concern. Just silence from the people whose job is supposed to be protecting players on the floor.
WNBA screws you, you'll find a plan B.
Or what's it called?
Not Plan B. Project.
At that point, frustration wasn't just understandable. It was unavoidable. Sophie had taken a hit to the head and been grabbed by the neck in a short span of time, and the referees acted like none of it happened. That kind of neglect doesn't just impact a game, it sends a message, and not a good one. After the game, Sophie and Caitlin Clark both approached the referees to talk about it. What followed was caught on camera and spread across social media instantly. The referee wouldn't even look at them. He physically turned away, refusing eye contact, refusing engagement, refusing even basic acknowledgement. Sophie tapped him on the arm, trying to get his attention, and he acted like she wasn't there. Anyone who has watched professional basketball knows players and referees talk constantly. They disagree, they debate, they move on. That's the job. But this wasn't that. This felt dismissive. It felt disrespectful. It felt like two players raising legitimate safety concerns were being brushed off like their voices didn't matter at all. That clip hit social media and people reacted immediately. Fans weren't shocked. They were furious because they had seen this pattern before. And Sophie had clearly reached her limit. She had taken the hits. She had watched the officials ignore it. She had tried to address it professionally and got nothing back. And instead of swallowing it like so many players do, Sophie decided she was done staying quiet. She opened TikTok and recorded a video that changed the entire conversation. In that clip, she didn't dance around the issue. She didn't soften the message. She roasted the officiating, calling it slow, ineffective, and completely out of touch. She said exactly what fans were already thinking, exactly what players whispered behind closed doors, exactly what women's basketball had been avoiding out loud for years. The video took off instantly. Hundreds of thousands of views turned into millions in hours. The comment section exploded with fans saying, "Finally," and someone said it. People weren't just watching, they were relieved. This is how viral moments are born. Over 1.3 million views, shares everywhere. sports media jumping on it, panels debating it, and suddenly the WNBA had a full-blown public relations storm on their hands. And then came the league's first major mistake. Instead of acknowledging that officiating concerns might actually be valid, the WNBA fined Sophie Cunningham $5,000. The message was obvious: speak up and pay the price. They thought they were shutting it down. They thought they were restoring order. They thought this would scare everyone else into silence. But they couldn't have misread the moment more. Sophie looked at that fine and laughed. Not a nervous laugh, not a forced smile. Real laughter at how ridiculous it all was. But she didn't stop there. She had an idea, and that idea was about to become one of the most unforgettable moments in women's sports history. Next game night, Sophie walked into the arena wearing a shirt that read, "Hot girls eat Arby's." It wasn't subtle. It wasn't safe. And it definitely wasn't accidental. That shirt was a statement disguised as a joke, and Sophie knew exactly how loud it would be the second cameras caught it. The timing was flawless. Just days after getting fined for speaking out, she didn't issue an apology or release a carefully worded statement. She showed up smiling, shoulders back, wearing a fast food slogan like armor. It was bold, it was chaotic in the best way, and it instantly flipped the entire narrative. The internet reacted immediately. Not slowly, not eventually, immediately. Photos from the tunnel hit social media and exploded across timelines like a spark hitting dry grass. Sports Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, everywhere you looked, there was Sophie Cunningham in that shirt. The contrast made it hit even harder. The league had tried to project authority, seriousness, and control. Sophie responded with humor, confidence, and zero fear. It was a visual punchline that doubled as a power move, and fans understood it instantly. People weren't just laughing, they were celebrating. Comments poured in calling her iconic, fearless, and smarter than the entire league office. Fans said she played chess while everyone else was playing checkers. She didn't just respond to punishment, she transformed it into attention. That's the part leagues hate most. She didn't look rattled. She looked comfortable. The body language said everything. This wasn't someone scrambling to save face. This was someone fully aware that she had seized control of the moment. Then Arby's jumped in. And that's when things really went sideways for the WNBA. The brand's official social media account crowned Sophie an unapologetic queen, and the internet ate it up. Engagement went through the roof overnight. Suddenly, a fast food chain had better momentum with women's basketball fans than the league itself. That's not exaggeration. That's reality. Fans were tagging Arby's, sharing memes, posting selfies, and proudly wearing the shirt like it was a badge of honor. And the shirts didn't just sell, they vanished. Hour by hour, state by state, inventory disappeared. What started as a funny slogan turned into a cultural moment that no one could slow down. Then the numbers came in, and they were impossible to ignore. Roughly 800,000 units sold. Millions in revenue generated. One player, one shirt, one perfectly timed decision. Here's the detail that hit league executives the hardest. Not a single dollar of that money went to the WNBA. No licensing cut, no league partnership, nothing. Sophie Cunningham had just proven, in the most public way possible, that players can generate massive commercial value without the league's approval, involvement, or permission. That realization shook the foundation of how power works in women's basketball. While the league tried to maintain control through fines and rules, Sophie built leverage through authenticity and timing. And the audience followed her, not the logo. Her TikTok following exploded almost overnight, jumping from around 300,000 to more than 1.7 million followers. That kind of growth doesn't come from scheduled content or polished campaigns. It happens when someone taps into a shared frustration at exactly the right moment. Sophie stopped being seen as just a role player. She became a symbol, a stand-in for every player who felt overlooked, unheard, or dismissed, and for every fan who felt the same way watching from home. Then came the stat that turned heads across the entire basketball world. Sophie Cunningham's jersey sales surpassed Caitlin Clark's. That sentence alone would have sounded impossible just weeks earlier. Caitlin Clark is the biggest star the sport has ever seen. Record ratings, sold-out arenas, a cultural force. And yet Sophie outsold her. Not because she scores more, not because she's more famous on paper, but because she stood up, took the consequences, and turned pressure into momentum. Fans weren't buying a jersey. They were buying what Sophie represented. Courage, loyalty, pushback against a system that felt stacked against the players. To many fans, Sophie became Caitlin Clark's protector, the teammate willing to absorb contact, speak up, and draw attention to things others were too cautious to say. When Sophie spoke out, fans felt like she was speaking for Caitlin too. She was speaking for every hard foul that went uncalled, every moment where physical play crossed the line and officials looked away. She gave voice to something people had been quietly complaining about for years. That emotional connection is powerful. It doesn't come from stats. It comes from story. And Sophie Cunningham had just stepped into the center of one, whether the league liked it or not. That narrative hit hard. Whether perfectly accurate or not, it resonated deeply with a fan base already frustrated by how the league handled its sudden surge in attention. Then the story got even wilder. Jeannie Buss entered the chat. Jeannie Buss, owner of the Los Angeles Lakers, saw something in Sophie beyond basketball. She publicly offered Sophie a spot in WOW Women of Wrestling, calling her the enforcer women's basketball needed. That was huge. It showed Sophie had crossed into cultural relevance beyond the court. She wasn't just a player anymore. She was a persona, a brand, a symbol of defiance and authenticity. Endorsement offers started rolling in. Brands that never touched women's basketball were suddenly interested. The $5,000 fine looked laughable compared to the opportunities opening up. Even Angel Reese reposted the Arby's moment with a fire emoji, signaling player solidarity. The league's attempt to isolate Sophie did the exact opposite. Instead of fear, it sparked confidence. Instead of silence, it created momentum. The league scrambled. Reports surfaced that leadership discussed banning branded clothing altogether, not fixing officiating, not listening to players. More control, more rules. That response showed just how threatened they felt. They misunderstood why Sophie connected with fans in the first place. Meanwhile, Sophie leaned in even harder. She posted holding an Arby's burger while wearing a gold chain reading 5K Fine Club. It was playful, it was pointed, it was fearless. Rumors swirled about a potential $2 million Arby's campaign, a role player rewriting the economics of women's sports in real time. The bigger truth is unavoidable. The WNBA didn't create Sophie's moment, but they fueled it by refusing to listen for years. Sophie didn't invent the frustration. She gave it a voice. Now the league faces a new reality. Speaking up doesn't end careers anymore. It builds them. Fans reward authenticity. Sponsors follow attention. Control without connection no longer works. Sophie Cunningham proved that power doesn't always come from points or stats. Sometimes it comes from saying what everyone else is afraid to say. The Arby's shirt wasn't about fashion. It wasn't even about fast food. It was about who really holds power now. For decades, leagues believed paychecks guaranteed silence. Sophie proved influence doesn't need permission. This moment didn't end a conflict. It exposed one. And the next move will determine who truly controls the future of women's basketball.